That was, and it's even an eye-popping number with how eye-popping tariffs have been recently. Right, we've seen 125% tariffs. We've seen all sorts of numbers. Are you ready for a quadruple digit number? The U.S. imposed tariffs a week or two ago on Asian solar imports. Nope, not saying Chinese, Asian. So this is Southeast Asia and China, of 3,521%. That is a eye-popping number. Now, look, everybody, you've heard Joel and I talk about this before. Our perspective is a lot of the tariffs that are out there as a negotiating tactic, or quite frankly, they don't make real economic, rational sense for us to do. But these ones, Joel, we'd argue, look, if you look at what Chinese industrial policy has done to the solar industry, it's understandable why with this, stuff like this, we're really talking about leveling the playing field, not trying to give ourselves an advantage. Fair?
China has overtaxed its people and taken that money, and overtaxed a lot of companies and taken that money, pooled it, and then grossly subsidized solar power companies, took all that country's wealth from areas that it should have stayed, frankly, and pulled it into solar so that solar companies in China could sell solar panels or photovoltaic, equipment of various kinds at price levels 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, I'm not joking, 70, 80% below cost to produce. 80%, which basically sent all kinds of European solar power supply companies into bankruptcy. All kinds of U.S. companies just said, I can't compete. Mm-hmm. I can't compete with a company that can sell way, 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 way below cost. It's impossible, right? That said, if there were any solar companies around that could benefit from a tariff on their competitors so they get a chance, some breathing room to actually survive, what would that be? Mr. Rob.
Right, and that would be everybody, right? Joel, thank you for setting that up so I can knock it down. That would be FirstSolar. For those of you who don't know, FirstSolar is pretty much the only show in town if you want to talk utility grade, big power plant solar panels, and really solar in general, made in the United States of America. And U.S. Solar, in FirstSolar actually has a pretty impressive footprint. You can see the numbers, right? 16,000 people employed, right? Tons of value added, tons of productivity. They've been really the only show in town because of the quality of their technology and everything else that has been able to compete while everybody else has been producing at below costs or getting to scale through artificial benefits. And even with that, Joel, they've still been a really profitable business.
It's been growing. It's just 22 is an anomaly because they got some government support at that point. But mm-hmm. even without the government bump of 2022 for solar, right? That was the IRA, I guess, Rob, if I'm right.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
And so they get this run up in profitability because they're finding, hey, they at least have a technology that even with what's going on, they can compete against China's super subsidized solar, right? And they've survived. Now, put on top of that a level playing field where China cannot, subsidize and sell solar for so much cheaper. And you have the opportunity as Wall Street analysts, are forecasting, the junior analysts again, that are forecasting the back of the research reports that we gather that FirstSolar should have a better year in 2025 than they've ever had, and in 26 crush that number. Meanwhile, what's priced into the stock? That this company is going to go back to a 5% return. Right, to get to the stock price of FirstSolar, you basically have to say they will have no excess earnings. They'll have no real earning power. They're going to get the same return, not as the U.S. The U.S. gets a global average 12 to 14%. This company's going to knock down to the global average, meaning closer to where China is in terms of return on assets. And you can understand the narrative. The narrative is, look, it doesn't matter how good your solar is. If China keeps subsidizing, eventually you're going to fall to bankruptcy just like all the other players around the world, because how do you compete with a company that can sell stuff for free, right? Or for mm-hmm. super below cost, right? It's impossible. Now, any of these, it doesn't have to be 3,500%. It could probably just be 300% or 400%.
Sure.
And you will level that playing field. And if that happens, right, and that's the bet you want to make, FirstSolar has tremendous upside.
And the other bear thesis is, this administration hates clean energy. And so, well, if this administration totally hates clean energy, why are they throwing 3,521% tariffs on other solar to help our solar? So don't think that FirstSolar is going to lose just because the Trump administration has a different view than the Biden administration did on the IRA.